Hey guys, how are you? I'm here with Abdul Mansaray. He was a guy I met in the Cheesecake Factory a few days ago. We did a short interview. I was inspired by his words of wisdom, thought I'd kind of get a little bit more of an extensive interview with him, find out about his life story and perhaps even, where he gets his words of wisdom. Abdul, welcome, brother. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good. Listen, so you're a Raleigh resident. How long have you lived around here?
I've been in Raleigh for about 24 years now. I'm 24 years of age. I grew up in Raleigh at the Wake Med on Newbern. I've been here all my life. I love Raleigh. It's grew from a small town to a major city, almost a major city, but honestly, I'm ready to see the rest of the world. So.
Okay, so you have plans to expand yourself beyond the horizons of Raleigh.
Yes.
So listen, tell me a little bit more about your life story, brother. I'm really interested. I want to find out. You said you were here for 24 years.
So right now, I am currently going to William Peace University for a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. I specialize in marketing and advertising.
So listen, tell me, I want to get deep in conversation with you. I'm a bit of a philosophical guy, a bit of a spiritual guy. Let's talk about that area, because what I found or discovered when I was having a conversation with you, your esoteric was very important to you. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your philosophy on life. Have you figured one out, first of all?
I definitely have. I have multiple philosophies on life.
Okay.
So that's my bread and butter.
So let's start with the first one. What's your core? Who are you?
I am a soul living a human experience.
Okay. So you're a spiritual being. Now, how have you come to that conclusion?
I have come to that conclusion by acknowledging my very own consciousness. I've came to that conclusion by, so to speak, talking to God when I meditate, praying, and God speaks to us in many different omnipotent ways. I've acknowledged that.
So, for a framework of understanding, first one has to validate whether there is a higher power of some sort.
Yes, that's correct.
So, your philosophy, your understandings on life, what influences have you had to get to these conclusions?
I've met many people. I've hung out with various ethnicities besides, my own. You always want to expand your ethnicities on people you hang out with. You always want to hang out with all kinds of people. And I've met spiritual gurus, so to speak, people who lead you to other people, who lead you to truths that help you be who you are.
So Abdul Mansaray is a name from Sierra Leone, is that correct?
Yes.
So you have like a Muslim name. Is that your father, your mother, your heritage, or is that just a cultural name from the country you originated from?
Well, my dad is a Muslim, so he named me based off his brother who has the same name as me, basically. So he gave me that name, and he's also very strong on Islam. So that's.
And then what about your mother?
My mother is Christian.
Okay.
So she's from a different tribe.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you've got two influences on you. How have they shaped you? I mean, those different influences, how have they shaped you?
Well, when I was younger and I was with my mom a lot, we would always go to church every Sunday. So that started my belief system, whereas my dad is more pragmatic, but he always gave me core life values. He always taught me about very core life values that I can kind of implement in my own life. Now, my spiritual journey does not necessarily relate to my dad or his teaching or his study of Islam, but as far as my mom goes, that kind of gave me a belief system to start with, and then spirituality and framework of it really took me further.
Yeah. So how do you reconcile with the idea of a belief in something outside yourself?
Well, you got to read the signs. The truth is in your face. The universe and God are omnipotent. You see signs in everything. You see change in everything.
Well, I mean, people don't see the same signs that you see. I mean, people reflect over the same observations that you have, and they conclude that there isn't a spiritual entity, there isn't a spiritual being. So, there has to be a framework of reasoning, I would imagine, to be able to come to some conclusions. How have you reasoned through? It's not so much about whether one believes something to be a certain perspective or not, but how they reason through to that conclusion that I always believe is more important. So what's your reasoning?
Well, you lead by example. You see all these successful people in their belief system, frameworks and lenses. You look at somebody's framework and how conscious they are to their belief system, their reasoning, and they lead by example. You see a lot of successful people like David Icke, and you see a lot of successful people like, Nelson Mandela, for example. His belief system's strong. He believes in the Lord above him, but he also preaches that. He exemplifies that. He assumes the power that God has given him, and he imposes it upon his people positively. And with positivity comes positive results. With positivity comes happiness. You have to look at these fundamental basis, or these fundamental things as a human being, and then you have to look at how other successful, very highly positive people have done it as well. You lead by example.
Right, but I mean, how do you reconcile, Nelson Mandela as a leading figure who's been, in your words, successful, with someone like Stalin, who's also been, one would argue, successful, but has not believed in anything bigger or greater than himself?
Well, it's all, the way I look at it is science and religion are kind of sort of intertwined. So an atheist might not believe the higher power of something, but he's using science as a means to reason with his own consciousness and his own reality. But in a lot of cases, when you look at the Bible, you look at the Quran, you look at the Torah, and you look at sciences and laws that we have proven as a fact, they intertwine, they correlate strongly, like the law of karma or the law of energy, the law of conservation, the law of velocity, how velocity always changes. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. The atom, a proton, a neutron, an electron, these things are specifically in the Bible, but they're not worded the same way science words it. So atheists might follow a science format, but it is literally the same thing as what a Bible would tell you, just different. A Bible tells you metaphors. So that's what I think.
Okay, so what you're saying is basically you're looking at observation, you're looking at data, you're looking at science, and from that observation you're making an inference that this cannot be random.
It's not.
And then in the same way that a scientist who's of an atheistic mindset would look at that same data and just conclude that with the multiple amounts of possibilities and probabilities in the universe, one situation could arise where by chance that same observation could happen. So they're looking at it statistically as well, and they're saying that's a possibility. How do you argue against that?
Well, as far as any kind of phenomenon that is proven by science and how it's backed up by tests, it's backed up by multiple theories throughout time, whereas they finally come to that conclusion that this is a fact, like proving energy or atoms. When you look at a Bible or when you look at a Quran or a Torah, there are stories. These stories correlate exactly what scientists talk about. But these stories, when you look at it at first, you're not going to think it's what you'd imagine science to be, because there's a lot of metaphors in these kind of biblical books or these spiritual books. There's a lot of metaphors, there's a lot of stories to it. But when you actually read these kind of books the second or third or fourth or fifth time, while you actually acknowledge scientific facts on the science side of things, you will see that there is an aligning correlation between it. Like, for example, proton, neutron, electron. A son, a mother, and a father, or a mother, a father, and a child. It's these. Life is poetry, writing, everything. Everything is a metaphor for anything. These are all specific things that philosophers taught us since the dawn of time.
So what you're saying is basically the religious scripts are symbolism. they're representations of reality in a symbolic form.
Yes.
And if we look at the teaching specifically, literally, then we're missing the nuances, the richness of the readings. Okay, so from your observation, you believe that there is some sort of greater being. You recognize the metaphors of scriptures, and so from that, you're trying to put together a life philosophy. You're adhering to some sort of life philosophy. So, what is your life philosophy from your readings and reasoning?
My life philosophy is this: you can be anything you want to be, and you can do anything you want to do. You just gotta know it. You gotta know it, because if you don't think you can do it, then you won't. If you think you might be able to, then you might be able to. If you know you can do something, you can do it.
So you're advocating an idea around the concept of certainty, belief and certainty. So how does that work? Why does it work? So if you believe in something, it will happen. If you are half-hearted about something, it might happen. And if you don't believe in something, then it will never happen. How does that work as a paradigm?
It's all law of attraction. It's all positivity. Because look at it like this: if I didn't think I would get a job somewhere and I'm going to an interview, oh, I'm not going to be hired. I know I'm not, but let's give it a shot. That mentality is already stuck within me. So I'm not going to give it my all. I'm not going to put on the nicest cologne I have. I'm not going to dress the best way. Everything starts here. Everything starts with your mentality. You have a lot of people who unfortunately are broke, but then they stay in that broke mentality. You have a lot of people who want to be rich. They have an entrepreneur mentality. They have a go-get-it mentality. It's all about your mentality. It's all about your will. Do you have the will to go do it? Do you want it, and how bad do you want it? That all correlates with having something. That's the physical sense of things. Now, on a spiritual level, we look at it as far as law of attraction. Law of attraction is a law of energy. You know how it's better to give than receive. You know about Christmas. You know about the art of giving. You know about, redemption, forgiveness. These kind of qualities correlate with you as a character, because everybody has a character within them that they show that output to other people. And first impressions are important as well. So when you show your energy to other people, you always want to have the best first impression possible. Now, like I said about the job thing, I'm already going into a job interview with the assumption I'm not going to get the job, so I'm not going to put my whole full effort in. So I'm going to feel that kind of energy. That energy is going to come back to me. The energy I'm giving out is the energy I'm receiving. This is a law.
Right. But you're making a statement that is the law of attraction.
Yes.
But what's your understanding of how that law originated, or what that law is? I mean, break that down.
Lead by example. So, law of attraction is you attract what you want, but there are levels to law of attraction. There are levels to it, and you can look at things on a spiritual sense or a physical sense. For example, I go to school. I'm graduating. I want a degree. I went to school. I work. I'm going to get that degree now. That's law of attraction specifically because I said I want that and I'm working towards getting it. That is law of attraction because it's coming to me.
So how do you reconcile the idea of serendipity and systems? So for example, things happen. You have a chance encounter. We're having a chance interview through a chance encounter. You did not will that to take place.
No, I didn't.
You did not have a belief in it to make that happen.
Yes.
And then in the same way about systems, a lot of people born into poverty will stay in poverty. That's a system.
Environmentalism.
So how do you reconcile your idea of law of attraction with the statistics that say, if you're born into a particular circumstance, you're likely to stay in that circumstance?
Because most people who are born into particular circumstances are stuck in those particular circumstances. They don't get the opportunity to learn these kind of things from just everybody. They're stuck in a mentality that they grew up in, so they're going to adapt to that.
Right. But what I'm saying is it then, or is life, because we're talking about life and life's journey, is life's journey really about belief? Or is it about chance and circumstances?
I feel like life, I don't feel like life's about any of those things. I feel like life's about love, enjoyment, and fulfillment. Fulfilling what you want and fulfilling your destiny.
Okay.
Everybody has a destiny. We just don't know what it looks like. Your fate is what is the choices you make towards your destiny. I don't believe destiny can be changed. I believe destiny is destiny.
So, I mean, you've got these points, you're a young man, you're 24. These points that you've articulated are, reasoned from your perspective. They're coherent. So where did you get that mindset? Tell me a little bit more about your parents. Do you feel your parents influenced you in this specific mindset of how to think about things?
Well, because of my parents being two different religions, that automatically put me in a path of thinking about things on my own. One. Two, I question everything. That's just an innate thing that I'm just used to questioning everything. I can't sit there and watch CNN and just be like, oh, everything they say is true. We don't know. That's just what they're telling me. They just happen to have access to that national broadcast. I question everything.
So do your parents question everything?
No, they follow.
But well, I mean, you would say you could argue that, right? But but they have also been unorthodox, or is it orthodox who have marriages between different faiths?
This way of them doing things is very unorthodox.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to say.
So it probably if anything stemmed from that.
Or is it that love conquers all?
Love always conquers all. So that's my personal thing. I think with love, anything is possible. And hatred creates destruction. Love creates life. We've already seen it. Look at these examples: flowers, photosynthesis. Babies, love. Come on.
So you're a curious gentleman. You've kind of reasoned through things. You've had a situation with parents from different faiths, different tribes, giving you perspective other than what is orthodox. So you are able to compute through things in a different way, perhaps, than other people have been able to. And so you've come to conclusions. What is your advice to people? What is your teachings to people? What is your philosophy to people beyond the point that you made about the idea of law of attraction and belief?
What I have to say to everyone is to, for one, love unconditionally. That's a hard thing. That's a very hard thing. And work on, throughout your life, removing pieces of your ego to the point where it's almost as if you don't have an ego. Love unconditionally. Stay positive. And I don't just say believe you can do something. Know in your heart of hearts that you can do something.
So let me break that down. I want to unpack that a little bit. Love unconditionally. I've got 2 points of questioning on that. One is, what is love? And why should one love unconditionally?
Love is appreciation. Love is joy. Love is kindness. Love is happiness. Love is serenity. Love is clarity. It's important to love because love creates beauty, and imperfection is beauty because nobody's perfect, you know what I mean? Now, as far as loving unconditionally, no matter what, no matter if this person isn't your favorite person to be around, no matter if this person and you don't really get along, no matter what happens, no matter who did you wrong, no matter who did you right, you're gonna love everyone unconditionally, individually, and undividingly.
But for what reason?
Just because lead by example.
So you believe that love is a force in the universe and it's a binding force that unites people. And so is that something that is the reason why one would need to execute on love, because it's something that's a binding force in both the quantum level and the macro universal level?
Love is the strongest energy of them all. With love, life. With love, people get born. With love, you love your flowers, you love your plants, you plant them, they look better and better and better. I love my work. I love my job. I got a promotion. I love my school. My school loves me. I love my job. My job, you know, the energy you give is the energy you will receive. That's why you got to give love, because you're going to receive that. Law of energy says that. Law of karma says that.
So what have you been reading?
I've read a lot of books. But I haven't read a lot of books for a long time. I read things like the Celestine Prophecy.
What's that about?
The Celestine Prophecy is an enlightenment. Let's put it that way. It's about a person going through the story of being enlightened with this radiance and energy. And they
so
want
this is a fictional book, or
this is a fictional book.
Okay.
But
who's it written by? Can you remember?
I don't
okay,
remember.
not to worry. I'm sure people, if they want to figure it out, they can Google it.
You got The Alchemist too.
Right. Okay. So give me a few other books that that have influenced you.
Catch Me If You Can by Frank Abagnale. It's about this guy who is like a con artist. He ended up making $2.1 million before he was 21. So, but he's using the law of attraction on a physical level. He's not using it as much on the spiritual level, but he knows what he wants, and he wants things on the highest level. So he gets these things, or he gets the opportunity to go through these kind of things because of what he perceives in himself. And he says,
and this is real life.
Real life.
And so, what was the end of his journey? Is he still around?
He's still around now. He gives out lectures. They made a movie based off his story, and his book was #1 New York bestseller. So,
Right. So I mean, you mentioned before 21. I want to know where he stands right now.
He's like in his 40s or 50s or something.
Yeah, but
like that.
is he still rich?
He's still rich. Yes.
So okay. What's your definition of success?
Fulfillment.
Okay. Break that down.
Fulfillment. You want that piece of cake. I ended up getting that piece of cake, whether somebody gave it to me, or I worked for the money to pay for it, anything like that. Like fulfillment in anything big or small.
So do you think this gentleman is successful?
Frank Abagnale?
The 21-year-old.
Very.
Because by the sounds of things, you were saying he was using the law of attraction in ways that you probably wouldn't.
In ways that I wouldn't, but I'm looking into that now. I won't be a con artist though, so don't worry about that.
Okay, so what's the difference between a con artist and your philosophy if financially you both are going to be successful?
Well, a con artist is gonna lie and say that they're this kind of person, even though they're not. Like I can say I'm a pilot and not be a pilot, but what a con artist will do is fake it till they make it. They'll read the books. They'll find out as much information as they can, despite even going to school for it. This is what Frank Abagnale did. Me, or as far as I go, I'm going to succeed in the things. I believe I can succeed in the things I'm really good at. I'm good at being creative. I'm good at my degree. I'm good at anything computer related. I know these things will get me where I need to go. Whereas Frank Abagnale didn't know what he was good at, but he knew he was good at something, and he wanted the universe to figure it out for him. And thus the con artist thing began.
So what's your observation of good and evil? Do you think there is good and bad in the world? What's your understanding of good and evil?
There is definitely good and there's definitely bad, but if bad didn't exist, we wouldn't know what good is. The problem of evil is necessary for us to understand and appreciate good for what it is.
Yeah. So why is this is the point about duality, right?
Yes.
My kind of observation on that is that, well, why is there duality? Like, duality in itself is a creation, and so why couldn't there be a third option? Just because there is good, and so we need bad to be able to appreciate good, why does it have to be that way? And why isn't there like a third option where you don't have to actually appreciate bad to be able to have good?
Well, you got to look at it like this. This is the third dimension. According to science, the third dimension, everything is in threes. You have the number trinity. So you're right, there should be a 3 instead of it being a 2, which is duality. Well, let me tell you something. As a soul, you're one. We all make up one thing. This form of duality is, let's put it this way, it's a newer concept. It's not something that is native. We're all one, but when we split between different ethnicities and different religions and different languages and different everything, we as people are feeding into and creating the concept of duality, and it's manifesting in our reality, and it has become a thing. As far as the problem of evil and good, it's like, for example, you're in a universe, everything is red, everything is the color red. You're not going to necessarily have different colors. You're not going to know what a different color is. You're only going to be used to this color. And therefore, because you only see this color, it's basically not even a color because it's the only thing you see. You wouldn't even call it red because it's the only thing you see. It's what's in the air. It'd be the equivalent of a sky. But because there's a contrast between red and blue, say you introduce blue into it. Now we created a concept. There's red and there's blue. So for everything to be good, it would question what really is good and what really is evil. Evil is what you know in your heart of hearts is not right. That feeling you get where it is not just. Whereas good is that feeling of love. Love being a characteristic of good, whereas death, destruction, and hatred being a characteristic of evil.
Right.
Now we need to have a necessary problem of evil in order to appreciate what good is.
So are these metaphors as well?
These are also metaphors.
Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, like one way we could potentially reason it is that good is truth and evil is falsehood. And if you're talking about the law of attraction, then we're operating at frequencies where good and truth is the optimum frequency, and anything off that frequency is bad. Would that be a way of saying it?
That's basically a way of saying it. Good is, basically, you said it perfectly. Good is one of the highest forms of frequency, whereas hatred creates destruction. You have hatred, you have wars. You have wars, you have people dying. Whereas good, it creates, you know.
But war in itself isn't bad if you're trying to defend against
Of course it's not.
a good, an evil.
If you're trying to defend against an evil and you want to take down an evil, that's good, but you're fighting for a good cause. But in a lot of our wars, we were not fighting for a good cause. Honestly, we're just sitting there killing each other, sitting there.
So it's relative. It's relative, right? I mean,
it's relative.
It depends on which tribe you're on.
It depends on the circumstance, because there's always going to be an A side and a B side. There's always going to be a red versus blue.
Right.
But if there's no reason to fight, then there's no reason to fight. Because every time we fight in these wars, what's the biggest thing? The oil, the money, the resources, the arms race. You look at these specific things and you ask yourself, what are we really fighting for then? Supremacy? That's not good. Why can't we all just live as one?
Okay. So let me take you back to the path that we were on, and you obviously reasoned through. You've made observations. You are able to process, and you've come to conclusions. You were kind of elucidating your conclusions, and we were talking about books and how you'd come to your conclusions through your learning. What's the future hold for you? What's your way forward? How do you see the vision of your future and the world within your future?
I'll make this part short and sweet because I don't want to spoil too much. My future is golden. That's the best thing I can tell you.
But if you believe and you have certainty, which is what you're saying, then would it not be a good idea to express that point of view?
I don't even know what it looks like. I just know it looks beautiful. I know it's gold.
So you're certain that, so what you have is a certainty in positivity.
Exactly. And another thing I pay attention to is the adventure. The adventure is fun, because when you get to your destiny, yeah, it's excellent, it's beautiful, but the adventure's kind of over. You know what I mean? And I value the adventure as much as I value the destiny.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about your values. What are your core values?
I love, joy, laughing, ambition, like go for your dreams, innovation, create something that never has been created before. Communication is big. I love psychology. I love psychological concepts. I've taken a lot of psychology courses, sociology as well. You know, people as a culture, where psychology is people as the individual. I value honesty. I value fitness. I value anything fitness, anything anything athletic, anything that involves movement. I have so much energy in my veins. I can't just consolidate it. I gotta let it out, whether I work out or I play a sport or an activity. I value knowledge. Knowledge is power, only if it can be used and remembered. I value integrity. I have a lust for life. I value experience. I value exploration. I value women. But I value these kind of things.
I think women on this video probably value you as well, brother.
Thank you, woman. I value these things, you know, and I'm going to the stars. I know I am.
So give me like a little bit more detail. Like, give me a goal you have for, you know, where do you see yourself in 20 years from now?
I can't really spoil it. I know I will be in an amazing place, in an amazing house.
You're not at that. What you're telling me is you're probably not at that space where you want to kind of fine tune to a specific, and you want to kind of explore right now.
It's the adventure of it.
Right.
The adventure of it is what makes it, the unpredictableness, the serendipity, like you mentioned earlier, is what makes it so tasteful.
Okay.
But the end result, I know, beautiful house, beautiful wife, beautiful car. I'm not really materialistic either, but you know, just the finest things.
Sounds like it, brother.
The finest things, because I deserve it for my hard work, and
But are you taking that away with you when you leave this earth?
I'm not, but my love and my joy and the adventure of it will stay with me forever.
So you want it as experiences for the now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is there anything that you particularly want to mention yourself that we've missed out in this conversation?
I think we covered a good basis of things. I will say this though. Always believe in yourself. Stay true to yourself. Be who you want to be, because at the end of the day, you can be anything you want to be. Don't let anybody say otherwise.
You see, for me, that is a statement. And that statement in itself involves a level of process. And
Yes.
so without one knowing what that process is, without one having gone or discovered the pathway to the top of the mountain, it's very difficult for someone to then follow and say, you know, you need to get to the top. But how do you get to the top?
It all starts here. It starts with the belief. It starts with your mentality. You got to know you want something in order to go for it.
Okay, so let's have that as a starting point, that the first core element of the process is having a clarity of thought in knowing the direction you want to go. And then if you don't have the clarity of that direction, then there is a prerequisite, there's a journey before, which is you have to figure yourself out, you have to discover who you are to be able to get that clarity, which means you really need to kind of put yourself out on the edge, be willing to get uncomfortable to find your comfort zone.
Gotta rise to the occasion.
Okay, so I have a final question for you, brother. They say that you are the average of the 5 people that you mostly hang around with. Now, let's play fantasy and say that you had 5 people that you could have as peers for the rest of your life, past, present, or future. Who would those 5 people be that you'd want to have as your peers to hang around with?
All right, here we go. Chuck Norris.
And why?
Norris.
Give me the names first, and then we'll go through the.
Chuck Norris. Who doesn't know Chuck Norris? He's a cowboy. He kicks people's butts. He's a Texas cowboy. You know, he's the Walker Texas Ranger. He's confident. He's strong. He's analytical. He's strategic. He knows what he's doing, and he is a protector. He's a protector for his friends.
So we got one.
All right. My second one would be Bruce Lee. Calm, patient. He's very disciplined. He knows what's best, and most of all, very positive, very influential, very magnetic, very charismatic. That's 2. All right, the third one would have to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's very influential. He's energizing. He's electrifying. He's magnetic. He's captivating. He's influential. He's charismatic. That's the big thing. All right, I already said Dwayne The Rock Johnson. My fourth one would have to be Nikola Tesla. Very knowledgeable, very admirable. He teaches you. Can there be a six one?
Not in this game, brother.
Not in this game. Okay. Nikola Tesla is very.
You can take one
knowledgeable.
out if you want.
Nikola Tesla is very knowledgeable. We'll put it that way. He's a man of a few words with a lot of knowledge.
Who were you trying to get in that you closed out?
I just forgot someone that I forgot to get in, but it's okay. We're on 4. I got one more perfect one. Pierce Brosnan, the Pierce Brosnan James Bond.
Okay.
From GoldenEye and Die Another Day. Perfect, perfect suave. I love fashion. His clothing is on point. I'm inspired with the way he talks to women. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a good guy. I'm not a sleazebag. I'm not a womanizer. I just love the way he presents himself, that confidence, that elegance, that swiftness. I look up to that. So I follow these core ethics, and I'm getting great results. Let's put it that way. So
that's
these
good
5
to know,
people
brother.
right there, specifically.
Okay, so what do those 5 people tell you about yourself?
I'm the man. There's no other way to say it. I like to be of a few words for specific things. I lead by example. You just see for yourself. I am the man.
Okay, brother. I am the man. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me, sharing your thoughts and opinions, and being open and transparent and trying to answer the questions in a very effective way. And I really appreciate that. Just got to remind everybody you're only 24. So thank you so much, brother. And we'll maybe even have a chat once you've discovered your kind of the detail in the 20-year vision. All right, brother. Take care.